Can I remind everyone, turn your microphones on. Dave, you guys turn, thank you. All right. Call this meeting to order. August 21st, 2018 at 6:30. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Mahoney.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lofgren.
Here.
Sorry. Trustee Doherty.
Here.
Trustee Early. Here. Trustee Morris.
Here.
Trustee Ott.
Here.
Trustee Strzok.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. And before we go to the next one, I want to remind everyone, could you please, if you have cell phones, to silence them. Approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Doherty.
Yes.
Trustee Ott.
Yes.
Trustee Strzok.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lofgren.
Yes.
Trustee Early.
Yes.
Trustee Morris.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Yes, and motion carries. Was there anyone signed up for audience business? No? Thank you. Okay, all right, thank you. All right, next item is the consent agenda. The items on there are the payment approval report in the amount of $454,391.94, as well as the August 7, 2018 minutes. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Early.
Yes.
Trustee Morris.
Yes.
Trustee Ott.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lofgren.
Yes.
Trustee Strzok.
Yes.
Trustee Doherty.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Yes, and motion carries. Okay. Let's see, the time is now 6:33, and we will adjourn as the Board of Trustees and convene as the Lochbuie Liquor Licensing Authority. And anyone want to run with that?
Okay, Future of Yesterday's Foundation had turned in their special events permit, and we got everything turned in. You actually have an updated map. They added 50 feet. That was on your place setting. And then they said they got a new letter, so it would be addressed to the Future of Yesterday Foundation. They turned in their money, and everything met all the criteria they needed to meet, so staff recommends you approve the special events permit.
Okay. Is there anyone have anything to say? No? Okay. Any board members? Questions, comments?
Yeah, the very first item on the application needs to have a box checked.
Yep. And that is a philanthropic. That would be the correction on there. Anyone else? Mr. Strzok?
I guess since we've checked that box, could I ask what good this institution does for the public? What services?
Go ahead.
Yeah, certainly.
Please state your name and address for the record.
The good that this foundation...
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Erin Tierney Mahoney. I'm the president of the Future of Yesterday Foundation. We are we're a nonprofit. What we do is we focus on the historic content and heritage of communities, and we educate and preserve documentation, buildings, landmarks, areas, and I can bring you, if you're interested, detail. We also have a website you can go to. We have moved out of Canyon City. We recently auctioned off the Hotel St. Cloud, and we're working with developers now to restore that building. and that's what we've been working on the last 5 years. Currently, we're working with which we haven't brought to you, we're doing all the research, in designating the area, which you call Old Town, a historic district. So we're putting together all of the preliminary information because spacious living,
Space City, spacious living.
AKA Spacious City, AKA Old Town, AKA, shall I go on, is historic, whether we want to admit it or not, and it needs to be preserved or designated, and we need to educate. Also, Lochbuie and how it came about, which is what the Renscotts are joining us this year in the festival. We have a 20 by 50 foot area designated just to them, where they will have a live village with volunteers, with leather, lace, crafts, blacksmithing. There's over 60 volunteers. They reenact a whole village and talk about Scottish heritage and work with children. We had a few people that were in the midst, so to speak, of the vendors last year working with kids, weaving, and it was received so well that they decided to come and join us and make a commitment to the community and to Lochbuie and talk about the Scottish heritage and where the clan came from, et cetera, et cetera. So that is what the Future of Yesterday does.
That's admirable, so thank you very much for that. I have two other questions. One, with that being said, according to the nonprofit compliance guide, the 4221 PC rule, it does say...
You know, I don't know that off the top of my head, so maybe you want to educate me?
No part of an organization's net earnings may inure to the benefit of an insider.
Of a
So I
what?
just wanted to say that. It basically says none of the excess profits from any kind of event like this can go to an insider.
We don't have any salaries. We're all
Okay.
volunteer.
Well, that's what I was just saying.
You're more than welcome to look at our tax return. It's posted on our website. I'm
Okay.
filing last year's here in the next couple of weeks.
All right, that'd be fine. But I
It's
just
all
wanted
open
make
to the
that,
public.
known, because it says you kind of...
I'm well aware of that. We've been around for quite some time.
All right.
Anything else?
Yeah, one other thing was the time for serving liquor has been extended to 11 o'clock. It was 8 o'clock last year, or actually it was dusk last year. So I'm kind of wondering why it's not dusk this year. When I go back through some of your paperwork, get to about the last page, you know, your last performer is pretty well stopping at 7. And I realize that people will continue to intoxicate themselves until the fireworks go off. But in the past years, after the fireworks are gone off, it's pretty well over. So I guess my question is why we would extend it from dusk to 11.
Okay. May I correct you? No one is intoxicating themselves.
Well, that's probably a bad choice of word, excuse me.
You're excused. We felt that it was wise, since dusk is a little open, that we are on the grounds until 11 p.m., and there are sales that continue until approximately 11 p.m., 10-ish, because we're tearing down. We are still collecting trash. The fireworks fellas are still there, they're drinking, and we are still responsible. So it would be wise to extend the hours and just, rather than just say there's no more alcohol at dusk. We feel that we should accept responsibility whether the sales are on or not and have them until 11 p.m. When we say till dusk, that means the vendors and the activities are no longer continued. That doesn't mean that there isn't behind-the-scenes activities going on, i.e. cleanup, tearing down, wrapping up the loose ends. There's a very small crew of people, approximately 4 or 5 people, mostly my family, that are working there tearing things down. So we're there pretty late. And
Well, I understand that. You know, it just seems that dusk is more appropriate to me. And
it is
you know, I don't
appropriate, and
usually
we do
drink when I
stop
work either,
public
so-
sales. We're not selling to the public. We are not selling to the public. But to say that there is no liquor being consumed after dusk would not be a truthful statement. And we feel that it would be more honest and more accountable to say to 11. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Schrock?
I would agree that 11 is long past dusk, so. thank you
Yes,
very
well,
much.
that wasn't your question. You asked
No,
me,
it was.
why
My
would I be
question,
served? Why
we're
am I saying
extending
till
it
11?
Past dusk.
I'm not.
Dusk seems like a prudent hour to quit. When everything is over, it seems like a prudent hour to quit. Only to me, maybe not the rest of you.
We're not selling to the public until 11. We're being accountable for the beer that's on the premises until 11. There is alcohol on the premises
So maybe
until
my question
11.
would be then, at what time will you stop selling alcohol?
I'm going to say 11. I don't think it's fair of me to say otherwise. We have men that are working there. The fireworks crew is there working until 11. They do pay for their beer. There is beer on site until 11.
Okay.
It would be irresponsible of me to say
I'm not
otherwise.
trying to argue with you by any means, with all due respect. It seems like, I don't offer my employees beer while they're working, so that's just my personal opinion. So
You don't what?
I said I do not offer my employees.
I don't offer,
beer.
I don't have any employees
Well,
there. This is strictly
Even if I
volunteer.
have subcontractors, I don't.
They're not
want them
subcontractors.
drinking on the
Okay,
job,
okay.
period. So let's just stop.
I'm not
okay?
offering anyone beer, and I do not have subcontractors.
All right. Is there anything else, Mr. Strzok?
No, thank you, though.
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
Trustee Morris?
How are you advertising or in making the public aware of this so that everyone knows about it?
This is our third-year event. We have a website that Lockwood Exchange has put together. This is the second year it's been active. We're also active on Facebook. We do the banners, which we put up every year. We really don't have to do much advertising. It's basically word of mouth. We don't do television advertising. We don't do flyers or posters or banners. It's basically word of mouth. And we have approximately, well, our community, for one, like 1,500 to 2,000 people a year come through.
I suppose it's not something that could be put on the town's website.
Yeah, it's actually the town's event.
Okay.
We do spend, Lockwood, we do spend about $1,000 in advertising on Facebook, paid advertising. Lockwood Exchange foots that bill.
Okay. I only ask that because last year it was successful, and I would like to see it continue to be successful.
Well, thank you. We've worked hard.
The word gets spread as effectively and as far as possible so that the people can take advantage of the event.
Thank you. We worked very hard to make that happen. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, great job.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem Lofgren.
Chair Trustee Morris's comments. Steve, maybe this is a better question for you. Oh, no, Chief's here. Do we have police coverage there till 11 p.m.?
We haven't, there's not been any request for any additional police coverage.
Okay.
We're going, just our normal police coverage, and we don't have anybody
No one?
extra on site there.
Okay. Okay. That's all I have.
All right. Trustee Doherty?
I have nothing, thank you.
Trustee Ott?
Nothing.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I just want to point out to the board sort of the legal process for a special event permit. So what the law says is that when somebody, one of the organizations that is allowed to apply for a special event permit, which includes nonprofit corporations, in the future of yesteryear is a nonprofit corporation good standing, makes application as long as the premises are posted for at least 10 days before the public hearing and there's no protest that's filed, so you'll want to check in the audience to see if anybody's here to protest it. Then unless you have good cause to deny it, you should approve a special event permit. So I just wanted to understand that.
Okay. All right, and I'll open it up once again for anyone here to give testimony, pro or con. Okay. All right. With that,
Are we going to do board comments first?
Do you need to make a comment? Go ahead.
Well, I kind of wanted to. I am a little concerned that there isn't more police presence there, especially if we're going to allow alcohol till 11 p.m. So maybe that's something you could talk about. To me, it doesn't cause a hesitation as to whether there's good or bad cause to approve this. So I'll probably vote yes to approve. Maybe something to talk about with the police department.
So we will, was it Saturday night, right?
Yes.
So we will have our normal Saturday shift on, and they will be going there, but it is, there's been no, we haven't approved any overtime or anything like that to add excess. So it's not like we're gonna avoid it, we'll be there.
Right.
We'll be in the park, as long as we can be.
I guess what I'm saying is maybe it is an overtime event kind of thing. But that's, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just saying maybe it's a discussion.
It could be that,
Yeah.
yes.
All right. Anyone else? Any other questions or any other comments? No?
So
Okay.
I will make a motion to approve the special events permit for the Future of Yesterday Foundation, P.O. Box 1436, Canyon City, Colorado, 81215, for the Fall Festival to be held at the Weld County Road 37 and Willow in Lockwood, Colorado.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Lofgren.
Yes.
Trustee Early.
Yes.
Trustee Morris.
Yes.
Trustee Ott.
Yes.
Trustee Strong.
Yes.
Trustee Doherty.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Abstain. All right. And with that, the time is now 6:47, and we will adjourn the Lockwood Liquor Licensing Authority and reconvene the regular meeting. And the next item up is financial update. Mr. Green.
Hi, everybody. So I guess the good news is that there's nothing significant going on that I need to bring to your attention here. Everything seems to be going as expected to go. The projects that are in place are just starting to get underway. So there's not a lot to report as far as that goes. Kind of some highlights here is that the general fund, it's got about all of its property taxes in. That's to be expected this time of year. About 52% of revenues without the effect of the bonds in there. So there's still some permits and stuff like that that should be collected to help fund that as well. Expenditures are about 19%. So that does have some of the bond expenditures baked into there. So as those start happening, you'll probably see that number start climbing fairly quickly, but no indication why it should be over budget or anything like that at this point. The other funds are doing well also. The water fund's about 43% of revenues and about 50% of expenditures, and then the sewer fund's about 34% of revenues and about 45% of expenditures. So we've spent about $280,000 year to date on the bond projects, so that still leaves a long ways to go. You guys I believe you guys have that spreadsheet in there that started tracking that, so any additions or changes on that, I'd be happy to address those as well. And any questions you guys have, I'd happy to address those too.
Trustee Ott?
You said it was 35% of the sewer fund revenues have been received so far?
Yes.
I mean, we're August, would that be a little lower, or are we a couple months behind?
It really is influenced by investment fees, right? So
By what?
investment fees, the PIFs,
Okay.
all that stuff. So as far as your sewer charges, you're at 71%.
Okay,
So that's probably sounds a lot better.
yeah.
Can't really predict when the permits and stuff are pulled, so, but they do go into that number.
Okay, well, the reason I asked is I didn't get a board packet, I just got an agenda. Can you send me one and I'll open it up?
I got one.
Anything else?
It says agenda.
Anything
that's
else?
it.
Okay. Trustee Doherty? Trustee Doherty?
Oh, I'm sorry. So it looks like a lot of the things that are, I guess, kind of related to construction are lacking compared to where we kind of thought we would be, or at least total for the year. I guess, are we really foreseeing that it's going to pick up towards the end of the year? I guess when I look at kind of all three funds, it seems like that that portion is a lot further behind where we kind of estimated the budget to be at the end of the year.
Yeah, and I think what that boils down to is they're long projects. I think the full cost of the project was budgeted, just because that was what was known, so that it went into place it would. As projects start going further, they're gonna start picking up steam, but I really don't think that they're gonna hit their full dollar amounts this year. I think a lot of that'll carry over to next year, and we'll have to rebudget for that next year based on what's available, so.
Well, I guess what I'm saying, so like in the general fund, our fees are at 30%, and then for revenue, and then same thing for fees in the water fund are at 24%.
Oh, those, because you're talking about the revenue side.
Yeah, so the
Okay,
revenue
sorry, I
side,
missed-
so that's my concern is we budgeted, and unless we're gonna see a massive swing in construction in the next couple of months, we're gonna be well short of what we budgeted for that revenue. So to me, it sounds like we're gonna be short on what we budgeted for income for the year, and how's that really put us for what we spent this year?
We're monitoring the budget, and D.R. Horton has just pulled a number of permits in Silver Peaks.
Okay. Okay. As long as we're kind of monitoring, that's the thing that I guess kind of raises my eyebrows. With as little of the year as there is left, we have to make up a lot in what we budgeted at least, or what we thought we would have from building permits this year.
So with that too, when building permits go down, inspections go down. So you have fees that go down, expenses that go down associated with those as well too.
Fair enough.
So that's not all profit there. It's gonna pull down some of the expenses to go with it. But
Absolutely.
as Steve said, those fees were being used in other places, but that's just like with any budget, you can just monitor it and adapt as it goes because it is a flexible instrument.
Sure.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Lofgren.
Do we have, excuse me, do we have the bond funds in like a separate account where we know how much interest we're collecting on them?
They're not in a separate account. That's something that could happen if chosen to. What would have to happen is we would actually have to set up a separate bank account. And then each month as the expenses were made relating to the bonds, we would transfer money out of that account back into the checking, because we can really only have one checking account where everything's set up. So that would be possible. We are tracking where the bonds are at as far as that, so we know how much has been spent. With that, we can calculate the interest that's on them. So the bonds are at about, I'd say they're about $690 a month in interest is coming in on those bonds, $2,400 year to date. The interest rate is really low, 0.18% per year, because it is a savings account, but they are all PDPA protected as well too. So,
Okay.
so I guess if the board wanted to have those segregated, we certainly could, but we're definitely tracking them even though they're
Yes,
in the
for
savings.
$700 a month, it isn't a big deal, but I was just curious if we kind of have a ballpark of what that interest is, so it's nice to know that you.
Yeah, it's about $700 per month, and will continue to go down as things get spent.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Trustee Morris?
I don't have anything right now.
Trustee Strock?
Nothing, thank you.
Trustee Early?
Yeah, on the bond reconciliation page, it's got 12/31/2018 at the top. Does that mean we're not spending any more money? It's
No.
now at the end of the year.
No, I guess that's just the habit of the way I date things, because that's the year end.
For the year end?
Yeah, so I just dated it with that's the year end that this is for. It doesn't mean that at all.
Okay.
And if that date's confusing, I can remove it, but I guess that's just the,
I appreciate the page. I just
Yeah.
was curious about that.
yeah, I can remove the date if needed, but yeah, that was just a habit of the way that I date things.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have anything else? No? Thank you, David.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
evening. All right. Next item is the public hearing for the service plan. Go ahead and open up the public hearing at 6:55. Did you want to?
We're going to be opening up that public hearing and continuing that to a date certain of September 4th,
Okay.
2018.
All right.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Lofgren.
Yes.
Trustee Morris.
Yes.
Trustee Ott.
Yes.
Trustee Early.
Yes.
Trustee Doherty.
Yes.
Trustee Strock.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Yes, and motion carries. close the public hearing at 6:55. The next item is the resolution number 17. Let's take that ball and run with it.
I will. Previously, we submitted to the electorate at the regular election that's to be held in November, a ballot question regarding waiving the 5.5% statutory limitation on property tax revenues. And as a matter of compliance, there's a couple of other issues that we wanted the board to consider also adding to the ballot this year, since we're paying to participate in the coordinated election anyway. And since these two provisions under state law can only be asked to the voters if you're otherwise asking the voters another question anyway. And the first question is whether or not we can publish our ordinances by title only. So that'll save us a lot of money by sometimes publishing these really long ordinances. I think we've asked this before and it's failed, but I recommend we ask it again. It's just a matter of the public realizing that unless they actually go to the legal notices and read every word of every ordinance, we publish these on the website, and they'll be available from on the website. And times are changing, and more people are looking at the websites these days than are looking at the newspapers. The second question, and this is just a compliance thing that Linda picked up on, is that we are under state law. I'm not sure I know too many jurisdictions that do this. Supposed to publish our accounts payable within 20 days of the meeting in which the accounts payable are approved, and also publish a list of our contracts in the paper. And so the state law, similar to the law on publishing ordinances by title only, says you can ask the voters for approval to not do that. If the voters authorize it, you won't have to do it. So frankly, I'm not sure it's consistently done by any jurisdiction anyway, but let's ask the voters if we can get that authority, and then we can put that up on the website as well, and that's what we contemplated with these questions to the voters, that we would in fact put all this information up on the town's website in lieu of incurring the cost for publishing.
Okay. All right. Questions, comments? Trustee Early?
Nothing.
Trustee Strock?
These are in addition, you said, to the original question about retaining funds?
The 5 point, we already submitted to the electorate a couple of meetings ago a question regarding the 5.5% property tax limit, revenue limit.
Okay, so this makes 3 questions.
So now there'll be 3 questions plus the candidate question.
All right, thank you.
All right. Trustee Morris?
No, well, maybe one question. I think it's good that we're doing it. It seems like common sense, practical, and just efficient use of our time and resources. As a point of information, do we have a ballpark idea or estimate on how much we would save by doing this?
I would look to the clerk who maybe gets the bills, but unfortunately your clerk's only been here a month, so I'm not sure she really has that experience. I don't know, but I'll tell you that sometimes I from other clients, know that they will publish in other newspapers these lengthy ordinances, and it's like $1,000 for $1,200, so every time. So, if you do that 5 times a year, that's $5,000.
Nothing further.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem Lofgren?
No, other than to note, I've been on the board for 6+ years, and I don't remember ever running this question, so if it failed before, it's been a while.
Trustee Doherty?
Yeah, it could be. I can't remember when it was.
I have nothing.
Trustee Ott?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if we were home rule, this point would be moved, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you could
Yeah,
write it.
right, the charter, it would be moved. Here we go, additional card, let's make the home rule and be done with it.
So I will make a motion. Oh, dear.
Bitter much? Okay. I'm with you, though. I'm with you. But go ahead.
I was going to make a motion.
No, go ahead.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 17-2018, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Black Beauty, Colorado, submitting 2 additional ballot questions to the eligible electors of the town, authorizing the town to publish ordinances by title only in accordance with section 31-16-105 of the Colorado Revised Statutes, and authorizing the town to publish its proceedings related to the payment of bills on the town's website rather than in the newspaper, and setting the titles for those ballot questions.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Strock?
Yes.
Trustee Doherty?
Yes.
Trustee Morris?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lofgren?
Yes.
Trustee Ott?
No.
Trustee Early?
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney?
Yes, and motion carries. All right, the next item, staff reports. Chief?
So there was a couple things, I guess, the last board meeting that I wasn't at. There was a few things brought up, I guess, prairie dogs out here on the state land property. That owner's been contacted, he's gonna eradicate those. And I guess there was a issue brought up about somebody spotlighting an officer that lives in Bella Vista, is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that spotlights their homes. So I've been reaching out to Hudson Marshall to try to meet with him, to talk to him about some of those things, and I haven't had any luck yet being able to connect with him. So we're working on that. I'll talk to him about that. I don't know, maybe somebody else has a better feel for that. I don't know what the exact problem is. I mean, I'm sure that there's some people that probably are in favor of it, actually, because I think he's probably trying to spotlight his neighborhood for safety purposes, you know, kind of doing a solid for his neighbors, I guess. But I suppose there's some people that probably don't see it that way. So is that about right?
Yeah, I can show you the next post later. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anybody, is it plenty of people opposed and nobody in favor?
About half and half, yeah.
About half and half, yeah. So I don't know. That's a hard thing, because I don't know if it really involves us too much. I mean, if it feels like it's harassment by the neighbors, then I guess it does involve us. So I figured I'd try to go to his employer first, talk to him about that. So just on my report, the vehicle, the Impala, I mentioned on one of the Impalas was, and I know that it's surprising to you that we have problems with our cars.
Especially the Chevys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but it turns out to be a motor mount issue, and it was covered under warranty anyway, so we're golden on that. But we are kind of hurting for cars right now, so you'll be hearing me ask for a request before the end of this year to get one to help us out with that. Also, Andrew, the new code enforcement officer, he's been really active. So I mean, you expect that. He's a new guy. He's trying to get his feet wet. So he's been really active. One of the other officers has been writing a lot of parking tickets. I don't know if you've had any feedback for that, but there's been a lot of parking tickets being written, and there's been a lot of warnings. I think in the last 3 weeks he's given out 100 warnings for weeds and various code enforcement things. So he's been pretty active. He's really going after it, trying to get compliance. So open it up to any questions you might have of me.
Trustee Ott?
No questions, thank you. Thanks for the report.
Trustee Doherty?
I have nothing, thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem Lofgren?
Are most of the parking tickets wrong side of the road stuff?
Yes.
Nice.
And so, and that's really because we don't really have an ordinance that addresses parking per se, but we have one that if you break if you're violating what's on the sign is an ordinance violation.
Cool. Trustee Morris?
Nothing, thanks, Chief.
Trustee Strzok?
Nothing.
Trustee Early?
Nothing, thanks.
I have nothing. Thank you, Chief. All right, Public Works.
Good evening. Everything's going well. Happy to be back after my vacation. I'm still tired, actually. couple weeks. All kidding aside, we're pretty busy. We're in full swing. Of course, grass growing and good weather. So we are definitely trying to catch up on projects we anticipated to tackle. Unfortunately, both of our seasonal workers left for other opportunities, so we're left with our core crew. And one of our guys is on vacations this week, so it's a three-man crew this week, trying to respond to all requests and projects. Otherwise, we're looking at these trails north of Berkshire, and there's some sections actually along County Road 2 that at some point the town installed, and they do need some help, and I'll be getting some numbers together for this budget season for next year. Maybe come up with a couple of scenarios or options, what the board is interested in, what the public's interested in. I've heard some good feedback from Berkshire. You know, let's make them wider, let's make them concrete versus this and that. So I don't know what the best solution is. So I'll bring that forward to the board in the near future to discuss. A couple of photos of that. If you do a lot of walking or jogging, you know what I'm talking about. What those look like. Cape Seal work finally getting underway this week. Actually, today, unfortunately, that got held back until tomorrow because of weather and potential rain. The slurry the following week with High Plains and Willow. We did all the patching prior to that, so it's so the surface was prepped before slurry, and all the repairs that needed to happen before slurry happened, including some concrete repair work. And if you saw that temporary lane that was constructed by, I'm not sure if you did or not, but that's part of the road widening on the Brighton side. Brookfield, American West, and as far as I know, they completed that temporary lane. It's just a temporary lane. It's not a permanent lane. It doesn't have a permanent subgrade, so that will eventually go away. And just, I'm not sure if you have any additional questions. I've been in touch with those folks. I don't have their full construction schedule, so I can't give you their benchmarks and whatnot. But, a couple other things. If you read the report, looking at this crack sealing issues in Berkshire, potential additional warranty work. Also looking at some options to improve maybe County Road 4 for next budget. I know that was brought up while I was gone as a comment from the board. And maybe I'll put some numbers together so the board can see what that would entail in terms of cost. We're renting a sweeper. The sweeper that the town owns is it's an older unit, and it doesn't sweep very well. So I'm going to try renting one for a month or so, and maybe that's something we do long term. The rental costs aren't that extensive, and actually the streets are looking pretty bad, and it might be a worthwhile option instead of purchasing a sweeper, just renting one for a month for $5,000 or $6,000, doing the entire town and be done with it, or maybe twice a year, fall season, spring season. So looking forward to that. Just looking forward to striping and restriping, and looking forward to winter, actually. That's all I have. If you have any questions.
Trustee Morris?
Well, you already touched on the one question I had, and that was about that lane and the lack of any road sub-base underneath it, but yep, that was it. Thanks.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem Lofgren.
So the trails that Berkshire raised as concerns are town property?
They are, yeah, as far as I'm.
Okay, did you say some of them are along County Road 2?
There's a section that kind of stubs out towards County Road 2, which is just a short section that falls in no man's land. I guess we mow some of it. At some point, the HOA has mowed sections of it. It's right by Homestead, actually, before that retention pond.
Okay.
It's I spoke with.
So it's not on 2, it just comes towards.
No,
okay.
It's just a short section.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Majority of it will be the stuff that runs along the power lines.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Trustee Doherty?
When we do street sweeping, are we going to limit our parking in a lot of the neighborhoods more so than we already do, like in a lot of towns?
Plan is to split up the town in 5 sections and do some sort of alternate parking options.
Park on the other side.
Park on the other side, and we'll, and I
just coordinate with chief, and then
yeah, right.
There's some that $5,000 for that rental, we got it covered.
So in we'll put a short summary and a heads up in the newsletter, and I don't want to necessarily commit to which streets will be swept at what days. So I think in that newsletter we'll just obey the temporary no parking signs, and we'll cone it off. We'll have, I know some of those streets are narrow, and we'll just try to make it work somehow, I guess.
Cool. All right. Trustee Ott?
Yes,
A couple things, gotten some comments about.
Did you have more?
Mowing looks good, town looks good, thank you. And has anybody checked with John Deere to see if they make any attachments to those big mowers? Because they may make a hydraulic sweeper attachment for those mowers.
for this zero turns?
The two mowers you got,
Oh.
yeah. They may make a hydraulic sweeper attachment for those. Because I know they make all kinds of attachments for everything.
Don't think they do for the zero turn, they do make them for the Kubota, which we bought last year, which the town bought 2 years ago, I guess.
Okay.
But
I mean,
that
I
would be an
check
open
into that,
room.
because that might be an investment for the town that we can use.
Yep.
But at least you can call the John Deere dealer, the worst they can say is no.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay. Trustee Early?
Bonanza from Road 2 up to Lilac. There are mounds all the way up and down our little critter Quebec. And there's also lots of weeds on the sidewalks. I know you said you were spraying weeds in Old Town, but there's a lot of weeds across on the sidewalk parts, that whole stretch also. That's all.
Trustee Straw?
Yeah, I think sweeping in Lake Falls is a really good idea, and I think whatever we can do to kind of save for will save us money in the future. So that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Thanks.
Water, wastewater.
Yeah.
Ramey Environmental.
Hi, Carl Heil with Ramey Environmental. And Wayne's out today, he's not feeling well, so he gave me the honor. So don't have a lot to report, pretty normal month. We had a few happenings with Popular Lift Station, but we got that under control now. Spending time with the construction project down at the wastewater plant. The RO plant, I think we had our final walkthrough, and we will be starting to raise the pH of the whole system up as part of the corrosion control. The higher the pH, the less corrosion, less leaching of metals you get into the water from the plumbing systems. So that's about most of what I have. You can tell Wayne's a little bit more polished at this than I am.
No, he just likes to talk.
Talk, yeah.
You're short and sweet.
Trustee Early?
Did the power outage have any adverse effects?
What power outage?
Well, we had a good one.
Good answer. Good answer.
It was like an hour and a half.
Nope.
No,
Right.
good.
Trustee Strzok?
You know, I'm kind of concerned with Brighton's growth, just on the other side of 2. It's growing so faster. You know, how does that affect our build-out plans for the water plant? Because right now it seems like they're using almost 75% of our sewer plant.
Well, I guess that's why you have PIFs, right? So when you need to expand it, you can expand it. And that's part of the expansion that we're working on now for the pump station, because that's part of what you have. You're limited. The original site plan approval limited you the size of your plant because of that pump station. This pump station will actually upsize that size of the plant. So the site approval will actually, I can't remember what it will be rated to. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly hope we just stay ahead of it. So.
Yes.
The other thing too is I noticed, and I've mentioned this for years, if you look at the retention ponds over in Silver Peaks, they never have any water in them compared to all the other retention ponds that have water in them for days. And so I kind of wonder when I look down at the groundwater that's getting into the system, do we have spikes? You know, when it is rainy like that, are we cleaning a lot of groundwater?
Well, when you have rain, you always get groundwaters into the collection system. You can't stop it. It comes in, you know, through the little holes at the manhole. You can't believe how much water that you get in one little hole squirting in there, but you get quite a bit. It always picks up. I can't speak to the Silver Peaks. I'm not familiar with it. Yeah, that's probably a stormwater thing.
Okay, thank you.
I'm a wastewater guy.
Yeah, all right. Well, unless it's all in the waste system.
All right. Trustee Morris?
I have nothing.
Mayor Pro Tem Lofgren?
Nothing, thank you.
Trustee Doherty?
I have nothing, thank you.
Trustee Ott?
Nothing, thank you.
And I have nothing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Made it easy on you.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Okay. All right, Mayor and Trustee, or actually, Steve.
Just a couple of quick updates. trying to work with the City of Brighton to schedule a sewer board meeting for August 20th, so you might check your calendars to see if that
August or
evening. September 20th, excuse me, yeah. See if that
We're
works for
laced
you.
it.
And the main purpose of that meeting is to talk about the release of the escrow where our PIF funds are being included so we can get those transferred to our account for our wastewater treatment plant expansion project.
Does anyone have any issue with August 20th or September 20th?
What time?
6:30.
A year?
Yes.
No, we were gonna have it at your house.
Okay, as long as I can put it on my calendar, I don't care.
So is everyone okay with that? 6:30, August, I'm stuck in August. September 20th? I want it to be in August because then it's
And I
already
can
done.
send out notice when that's confirmed, but that's the planning date we're working with right now.
Okay.
The Safe Belt is scheduled to be at our meeting on September 4th to talk about the code comparisons and code adoptions update, as well as the wind speed question, which Trustee Doherty has had. The I-76 corridor workshop has been canceled, one that they've had the last couple of years. Just got notice that that was canceled this year. We're having interviews with 2 firms to talk about the Lake Henry rebuild and expansion design. And then it's in the fire chief's court to schedule, confirm a date for me to meet with him regarding a PIF follow-up for that.
Okay. Anything else? Anything from Samantha? Okay. Anyone have anything for Samantha or Steve? Trustee Strong.
Is there an AdCog or a WeCog meeting this week?
There is an AdCog tomorrow
Wednesday?
evening, and it's primarily to discuss 2 projects that are joint requests between Adams County and Jeffco, and then Adams County and Boulder County regarding the Highway 7 corridor study.
Okay, no WeCog?
The WeCog, I believe, is September 9, recalling, I can confirm that with you. but
Okay,
that's what I
perfect.
recall.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Trustee Early, do you have anything? All right. Trustee Ott?
Nothing.
Trustee Doherty?
Nothing, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Lofgren?
No library updates? Okay. And, there's one other thing. On AdCog, are you gonna be able to go to that, Larry?
It's tomorrow night? Yeah. Do we know where yet?
It's at the Human Services Building on south of 120th on Pecos.
The one that's on the other side of 120th?
Yeah, on
north
the
side?
south, on the south side,
On the south side?
yes.
The big building?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
All right. Anything else? Trustee Morris? Nothing. Okay, and I have nothing. Thank you,
Thanks.
Steve. All right, Mayor and trustee comments. Trustee Ott.
A couple things, and this may be just point of information. I was coming down County Road 2 today and noticed that they've got the 4-lane subsurface laid on the north side of 2 going past the Family Dollar. But the way it's set up, you would still have to make the jog down to 2 lanes. You know, or County Road 2 is 4 lanes, it'll just be 450. It looks like they're gonna make it a jog there again. They are gonna continue straight and make it 4-lane from where it's 4-lane all the way down, right?
So they're going to move, they have a traffic control plan. I don't know the details, but they will move the traffic to the north while they rip out the south 2 lanes to rebuild their south half of the 4 lanes.
No, what I'm saying is the north side of the road, as you come up towards 4 lanes, it stops and there's a big piece of dirt before you get back to the 4 lane again.
Right, so that is planned to be part of the expansion, but that's not until Silver Peaks moves forward.
Okay.
And what they're doing right now is not Silver Peaks,
All
it's,
right, I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing.
yeah, no, so the goal is it's 4-lane from where it's 4-lane all the way to the
That's what I
roundabout.
thought too, but I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, thanks.
And then the second thing is Antonov's sign used to have a nice cover on it. Now it doesn't, and he's advertising his $100,000 homes. Anything we can do about that, make him put a cover up? give them a, cease and desist order, cut down the sign with a Sawzall. I'll donate a Sawzall.
I got a nice torch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's truth in
I
lending.
can't
It's still
remember,
$100,000.
I can't remember, there's some technical problems with enforcing this on Anton's
Yeah.
property related to the settlement agreement.
Yes.
I can't remember now the details of it because we haven't visited it for a while, but we can.
But his sign is false advertising. At least he had it covered before.
No, it's actually working for us. People are coming going, hey, I get a house for $100,000.
And sooner or later, you're gonna get that FTC complaint.
Yeah.
Really nice box.
Yeah. Just forward it to Doug Antonoff.
I can't get him to answer his phone. But go ahead.
That's it.
Anything else? All right.
No, I've got nothing else.
Trustee
I
Doherty?
don't have anything else I want to.
I have a couple of items. I think it'd be interesting to kind of look at moving the bond into another account. Just kind of see what we can do with that, even if there's a different type of savings account that's still relatively safe, that would give us a little higher interest on that. And then, just out of curiosity, how do you guys do the order of the trustees when you guys do roll call? It seems random in that.
It is random.
Okay.
Just so that the same person's not always first, and then switch theirs to be last, but then it's just not always everybody in the same order, so.
That's considered proper.
Can you still go in the same order, just change the person who starts? And then it's still random? Never mind. Sorry, I may have. Is there, so one of the things that we discussed kind of at the end of the last meeting was that contractors do have to kind of register with the town and be, is there something that they have to do to stay in good standing? Or are they able to, I guess, is the town able to revoke that at all? So the contractors, from what we talked at the last meeting, is contractors that work in town have to register with the town. And is there any, I guess, is it really just a list, an informational list of people that have registered with the town but has no teeth? Or is there something that they actually have to do to stay in good standing with the town to be considered a registered contractor with the town? Or if there, I mean, if enough residents file complaints against one, are they able to have that revoked, or is it just really just a list?
I'd have to look at the code provisions regarding that as a general rule without looking at specific authority provisions. Most jurisdictions don't guarantee that you're going to get a good outcome.
Absolutely.
So if a citizen complains, I mean, what we do is if there is state licensure requirements or certification requirements or that, we would check that. I assume we check that when we issue these licenses. But once we license them, we're not going to police them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even if,
That's generally
okay.
how that happens. I haven't looked specifically.
I was just curious if a reasonable amount of residents filed a complaint against a certain contractor, if that changes anything. I was just curious.
I haven't looked at the code.
Okay.
The general answer is no.
No worries. And then maybe I should have asked this earlier, but
We have a criteria they have to meet. They have to give us some information, and so if they meet that criteria, we give it, because it's kind of hard, as she said, to man them, and because you may love that person, but Jacob may hate them. So
absolutely.
It's kind of hard for the town to manage that, so we just require the contractor's license so we can make sure that those people have with the liability insurance
Absolutely.
and those kind of things. So.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. And maybe this should have been brought up earlier, but when do we decide to do parking tickets versus warnings for parking? Is that just kind of the discretion of the person doing the ticket and when and how he feels that day?
Any citation given by the police department is discretionary.
Okay, I was just curious. I thought typically
So-
parking was a warning at first, and then
It
if
has
it's
been for, I guess, several years, yeah.
What's that?
It has been for several years.
Okay.
A warning. So generally, the people that are getting tickets are people that have had warnings before that are not complying with that.
Okay.
Repeat offenders.
Okay. And then as we move into budget time, I'd really like to kind of better understand what the Berkshire HOA's responsibilities really are in Berkshire, what they really own, what their true responsibility, not in our agreement that we have with them, but what their true responsibility is as the HOA to maintain, to do whatever, of the fences, of the mowing, whatever it is. Because I don't know if I understand fully what's the town's responsibility, even if we delegate that to them and allow them to help us out versus what's really Berkshire's responsibility. And I think it'd be really important to know that going into budgeting, because one of the things that we've kind of brought up before, I think that we should, I guess, go one way or another on the parts of the town property that, or I guess on the parts that are town property. I think we should either look to, I don't know if sell is the right word, sell that property to the HOA so they can just maintain it however they want and so forth. Or I think the town should budget to have enough staffing in the next year to maintain the town's properties as the town's properties like we do in every other part of town. So I think those two kind of go together, but I'd be interested in kind of understanding that a little bit more, especially as we come into budgets and understanding that. Back to the parking during sweeping, I think we should really plan that well to try to minimize any impact. I mean, a lot of the neighborhoods in Berkshire especially has exceedingly limited parking to begin with. And I guess my thought is if we could do it from, 9 to 4 during the day, and that way there's overnight parking for all of the people that live there, and then, you're gonna be limited a little bit because people hopefully take some of their vehicles to work with them, to try to minimize that as much as possible, because I think we're gonna get a lot of pushback. And I understand sweeping the streets can be nice, but I actually think for a lot of people in the Berkshire neighborhood, we're going to get a lot of pushback for that because there's just not any other place to park, and they're not going to go park it across town for 2 days while we sweep. I think that's a lot to ask for, especially since we allowed a contractor to do what they've done with allowing for parking only on one side. So I think we should be somewhat flexible on what that looks like and try to make it as minimal of an impact as possible. And I said Berkshire, but all parts of town where we have parking on just a single side of the street. I think that's exceedingly important. I did want to just touch base back on the wind speed thing. I completely understand how they're enforcing it, and I get that. It was just really the one part that when I go to the town's website and I search for that and read through the code that we have published on our website, it has the wrong wind speed. So if we can just take I don't know, however long to just update that so it's the correct one. I understand that they're enforcing it correctly, but we have it misrepresented it on our website. And I think it'd just be nice if we could update it so it is correct.
So is it on Muni Code? Is like you go to the municipal code, is that where it is?
Yes, I believe so.
If that's where it is, we actually just contacted Muni Code today. They are going to codify that. So that's sort of when it's not codified, it doesn't get updated on the website.
Oh, okay.
So, but we just had contacted them today, so they are starting that supplement.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be too long, we'll get approved, and then we just make sure it's all right, and then it will be updated, so that's been done. So everything will be updated up to ordinance 632.
Because I guess, so I understand that we enforce it to what's correct, but is that not the only place that somebody can go find that other than calling code enforcement to find out what the wind speed is here? Because like if somebody's coming in to build, is that not the only place that they can find that? And if they go there and they design to that because that's what it says, and then they get, comments from, that's time for all those people. Yeah. So it's really just to make sure that that information's updated. I'm not trying to make a big ordeal, but it's just trying to make sure that it's correct for what people research and find for when they look to build in town.
I do think a lot of people either know to call Safe Build or they call the town hall and they have those bigger questions because not everybody knows that you have them. We do that, I say, unless you're actually the developer, which they're already contacting Safe Build. But
right.
I'll double check, but there's an ordinance, and I think the planning meeting, when it's a short period of time, or so. But if that ordinance is been sent into Muni Code, if they go to that section, there should be a modified button they can push. Oh, sorry, modified button that we'll take them directly to that ordinance, or has a change. So I'll check that out, but we are working on getting that updated as quickly as we can. It just will take a little bit of time to have that updated, because
Okay.
Unicode has to do their share.
Fair enough.
But we do people are calling. I don't know how many calls we get, but I know that they will call her or contact Safe Built for that
And
information.
I don't know what that looks like on the town's website right now, what you're referring to, because, so typically you adopt the building codes, you adopt all the IBCs.
Yep.
And their whole
Absolutely.
sequelae of associated codes, and then we adopt a local group of amendments, which usually Safe Built comes and tells us this is what you should do to change the 2012 version, this is why. And historically, the board, Safe Built being the experts, defers, and we adopt those amendments as part of the local code. So when you say you're looking on the website, I don't know if we're just not up to date on our ordinance that says we adopt by reference the building codes with these amendments, and that SB is in those amendments, and hasn't been updated. I'm not really sure what the issue is, so I guess we can.
So it does say that we've adopted IBC 2012, which is correct. But in this, so I sent you guys a snip, and I can forward it to you as well. It then goes through and listed under the IRC, so the residential, that we have a wind speed of 90. And so I guess that's where if somebody's coming in and they're wanting to build and they see that and that's what they designed to, and maybe they budgeted that they're gonna build based on that, which is, it's gonna cost them less to build something at 90 than it is at 115. And then they get red lines or comments back from the city in the code review that says, no, it's 115. Then they have to go back, redesign. So it's costing them money because it's just not updated on our website.
So if you send that to me, then I can figure out where it is, and then I can share a little more information I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
What we're looking at.
All right, that sounds great. Thanks. And then, so I also sent you guys the design criteria from Louisville. Is that something that the town could put together? Is that something that we would look to Safe Built to put together for us?
I would ask Russ Weber and his team to put something like this together.
Okay. I think that'd be exceedingly valuable for builders in town. And I think it needs to be located, and maybe this is another discussion on how we format and put together our website. I think that's something that maybe, Linda, you brought up as well at the last meeting, starting to work on the website a little bit. But to try to make some of these things, especially like that, a little bit easier to find on our website for people coming in to build. The next thing that I have is in the agenda, I had information about the mosquito control. And maybe it's just that it happened in the last 21 days, but I thought it was before. And notice that there's no cases of human West Nile reported in July in Colorado. Is that just that it's all been in August? Because I think every county now has reported West Nile. And maybe it's just West Nile and this is specific to human West Nile. But I thought every county, I think Weld is actually the first county that reported cases of West Nile.
I think there was one human case.
In Weld, but I think all counties have now done it.
I don't know.
I guess I was just concerned.
Our mosquito counts have been pretty low this year.
They can still be just as deadly. And then the last thing that I have is about the sign on Antonov's property. So I understand that we can't do anything to have it be taken down, but if we pass new ordinances that dictate one thing or another with our sign ordinances that we've done, and I believe that are now in the comp plan that we put together over the last year or so. So just like if I were to make a big renovation to my house, it has to be, all those renovations are then having to be compliant with the new codes and so forth. So I guess, is there anything that we can do? Let's say he sells out property to McDonald's next year or next month, and they want to change that to a big McDonald's. Is there anything that we have, because we do have new ordinances in place for sign regulation, that, yeah, there's nothing that says they have to tear that down, but if they're making major modifications to put a big, M on it instead of the yellow sign that it is, that it then has to become in compliance with the town's regulations. So is there?
This is a special case on the Antonov property. There was litigation, going from my memory here, but I'm pretty sure. There was litigation. We entered into a settlement agreement with him. He vested all kinds of rights on that property, including the right that we would never adopt future ordinances that would in any way restrict those vested rights that he has. So this is a question I can't really answer off the cuff, and I would encourage you when you have questions of this sort of depth that have this legal analysis involved, that you send them to us in advance so we don't have to try to respond in these public board meetings, because these are questions that, you know, I don't think anybody comes prepared having read, you know, the code on the building code, for instance, to be able to specifically answer your questions. I'm happy to work with you. I'm just not sure that this is the right place to be asking sort of for legal advice on that. And then the Antonoff property, it's been a litigious matter forever. Let's talk about it offline, but I'll be happy to explain to you sort of where we are with the agreements related to the Antonoff property and what we can do.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all that I have. Just a couple things, like I said.
Yeah. But half an hour meeting was your comments.
Let's see, 20 minutes later. Mayor Pro Tem Lockwood.
Close. My turn?
Yep.
Do we have any update on Santiago's?
They are responding, they've all sent them a planning direction list, which they're responding to for their, get their building permit.
Cool. So we lost both of our seasonal workers to other seasonal jobs, or?
One permanent position, the other employee just walked out.
Fun times. I saw King Street and Fletcher Street appear to be underway. Hooray. I know the school will be excited to see that. Have we been able to reach out to anyone about hosting a candidate forum?
Actually, I was just speaking with Steve about that today, and I'm going to contact the Women League of Voters. They've done it in the past, so I'm going to reach out to them and see if we can get that slated.
Okay, I think. Oh, last thing I had is, when she was speaking, Erin Mahoney indicated potentially making a historic district in Old Town. And sounds like a cool idea to me. The only concern I had is part of what's included in that area is the area of our comp plan that we just suggested we wanted to redevelop. So I think if anything like that is going to move forward, I hope there's some coordination with town staff about what the boundaries look like so that we aren't in conflict with the comp plan we adopted 6 months ago.
Well, yeah, and it would actually come forward to the board before we move forward.
Yep. That's all I had.
Okay. Trustee Morris?
I was going to ask about an update on Santiago's, and then that's already been addressed. And then the other thing is the Verizon cell tower, is that fully operational? And what is the latest with that?
September or something.
Okay.
Anything else?
That is it. Thank you.
Trustee Strock?
At DRCOG, they offer the boomer bond, and so they're just kind of waiting on us. It'll take a meeting between town administrator and someone from the board or anybody else that would like to be at that meeting. So they're just kind of waiting in the halls for us to move forward on that. I went to the Brighton Planning Commission meeting the other night. Mr. Antonoff is in the process of going to build 400 houses or more across the street. No oil production. After seeing Brighton's Planning Commission, I think our Planning Commission and they could probably be a draw if they had a wrestling match. Also, as far as Antonoff's sign goes, why don't we ask him if we could use it? You know, maybe change it to Welcome to Loch Buoy or something. You know, rather than trying to knock the darn thing down. On the fire impact fee, you know, I was kind of thinking about that. We get feedback from the builders that we're just increasing the costs again. So contemplate this. In the last year or so, your property has probably gone up another $100,000, which means that realtor is now making 3.5% to 7% additional that they made the year before. So the realtors have increased the cost of a house by at least $3,000 to $7,000, if not more. per $100,000. So I don't really think it's a $600 to $1,000 fire impact fee that's really hurting the builders. Also on the engineering of the wind speeds, that's kind of crazy. I think, you know, it's silly to build at a minimum. This one thing article here says, so the wind in Lac Bowie equates, it's 115, but it equates to 19. You know, honestly, when I look at some of these charts and you look at the wind speeds on the other side of I-25 and they say 140, 160, personally, I think you'd be crazy to build anything under 200 miles an hour up there and not take that into consideration. Maybe it's a 1 in 700 year thing, but it's cheap insurance, you know, to build things structurally stronger than they need to be. I guess that's really all I have. So thank you. Oh, something else I'd like to say is, you know, I know we don't think about it, but on days that we have town meetings, our staff is here from 8 o'clock in the morning to whenever we decide to go home at night sometimes.
Well, you're holding them up right now.
Well, I'm trying not to. So. But I appreciate that, and I know we all do. So,
all right.
Thank you very much.
Trustee Early?
I just have one thing, where the Anthemos sign is, there are still prairie dogs out there.
Okay. Anything else? All right, I just want to reiterate and let everyone know, we did lock down these Wren Scots. They will be doing reenactments. You'll be able to go and have fun with them as well. Everything is from the 1740s. It's really a cool organization, and we're hoping to keep them coming back year after year. This is their first time with us, and they're going to put up a little village in there, and we're really excited about it. So with that, we will now...
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, develop strategy for negotiations, and/or instruct negotiators pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute 24-6-402, parens 4, parens E, to instruct negotiators on agreements relating to the timing of certain stages of the WCR 2 improvement project.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Morris.
Yes.
Trustee Doherty.
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Lofgren.
Yes.
Trustee Ott.
Aye.
Trustee Strock.
Yes.
Trustee Early.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Yes, and motion carries. Time is now 7:43. Let's take a short break, and we'll go ahead and let the room clear out, and we'll remain in here.
I need to sign something for
These guys are going in. It's just like the first day of school and they're already doing that.
I know.
Everybody else is at the end of school year.
And you picked a good meeting.
Yeah, because you guys have to leave now, whether you want to or not. And I know you're really sad about leaving. I mean, I can see the heartbreak. Well, there were no fights, so you know nobody got socked in the eye.
I kind of felt like he was trying to tell somebody.
You need my name written, or you just want a signature? Right. I'm glad you guys came out. Did you get anything out of it, other than trying not to fall asleep? Yeah, well, and that's one of my goals, is try to keep everything moving forward as fast as possible, and yet take time to make sure everything's happening the way it's supposed to. And you sit there forever and ever, and you're like, well, and a lot of the issues, you get the guys who want to sit there and you always got the one that wants to do it. And look at me, I'm really important. It's like, look, we're here to do a job, let's do it, move on. Enough, say what you got to say, move forward. So, but thanks for coming out, guys. Have a good one, take care. What's that?
I forgot to say thank you to him.
What time is that? 8 o'clock in the morning. Anyway. I know, stupid.
Linda, are you both remaining in here?
Oh, I know what I forgot to talk about. I should see it.
Well, in this situation, yeah.
I'll get it figured out.
I went to the Area 18 thing. It's incredible. I kind of lost my note on it. It's like, I don't know if it's 75% or 25%.
Both of you are staying?
Above 60.
I'm sorry, what is?
There's like another
No, the last name.
people. They're worried about their housing.
Hers, Nichols, okay.
Transportation too. 'Cause, yeah, if you can get the transportation, and then you can get to the food. Something.
Something about that, there was a new service that did cost
Some of that.
Hanging around afterwards, I want you to sign some.
You know what they got someone
Running for council seat. What's wrong with you?
Somebody said I should.
Dude, run. Don't run for, run from. Actually, I'm still on the fence with, I'm happy, but by the same token, it's hard for me to get really excited about everything that's coming up because I'm no longer going to be sitting up here. But I also need a break. I'm like, Okay, you're not hanging out here, are you, Chief? Okay. Yes, we are staying in here, so.
Live stream up?
Yeah, there it was. So it's like one in four.
Linda, are we live stream off?
Food insecurity, living situation. It's not just like grandmas and grandpas. It's like mold and insects and stuff like that. And then transportation was 13%, utilities 9%, 1% of them on safety. All these people they surveyed, not that many people really came back and answered once again. The thing too was the public awareness. You know, it's like, you sit there and you talk to all these different counties, and I said, you know, as usual, work with us, Weld County Food Bank, we got more food than you've been given. Yeah, so and it's the same way in all those places, so people really shouldn't be hungry. They said, well, some of the food you give out is not good for people's diet. Text message. Everything we figured out was natural, for the most part. I think they're talking more like the canned stuff, you know. So they need to catch up. It's funny. It was kind of horrifying.
And then he was telling me about a million times.
And then the rest of us fruits and vegetables.
It was all.
Can't get much. This coming Monday? Oh my God. Oh, Monday's never coming.
She came back like 30 minutes later. Where's my hamburger? Lost. I told you.
I'm getting to where I don't even go to work enough. You're gonna start saying, well, you don't work it very often.